Hey everybody, post editor Dan here. So, funny story, as soon as I finished doing all of the edits for this interview, Misc a Tiny Tale literally just opened up for yet another free demo. If you have the G-Round launcher from the first demo, then you can just use that again. But if you do not know what that is or you don't have it, I'm going to give you a link in the description down below to download the launcher, and you can play both chapters 1 and 2 right now for free. So you have nothing to lose. There's only so much that two guys can talk back and forth about a game before. You might as well just give it a try. So I hope you guys all take the opportunity to give this game a look-see and give it some feedback. There is a Discord server for Misc a Tiny Tale, so join that as well if you'd like to, and let the creators know what you think. All right, I never know how to end these things when I'm unscripted, so let's get miscellaneous. Okay, bye. Hello world, my name is Denominator, and this is a bit of a different setting, isn't it? I know we're in like a new setting with new equipment. Pretty much everything is new, but don't worry, it's still the same me, I promise. Fortunately, I have my co-host to keep things at least a little similar. Hey Vector, how are ya? We love our tiny robots here, which is a good thing because today's video is going to be chock full of them. As a matter of fact, the game we're looking at is pretty much completely centered around them. For those of you who are new to my channel, and more specifically this channel, I've got a lot to catch you up on. So the game we're looking at today is actually an indie game, and there's a good chance you haven't heard of it, but you're probably going to want to keep an eye on it because it's coming out really soon, and it also happens to be inspired by a favorite series of mine, Chibi Robo. Any guesses yet? Let's not keep the people waiting, little V. Roll film!
Tinyware.
It's a great day for an adventure. You and me, why don't we go out and play? Just like the wind in the trees, I know you'll be there beside me. So come with me, let's go out in the sun. We're miscellaneous, so let's lend a hand to help everyone. We're free to be like this. We're happy to be here with all our friends so near. Looking up at the sky with you, I'll fly so high. You and
Alright, let me catch you up here. Chibi Robo is a video game series developed and published by Skip and Nintendo. It's seen a lot of setbacks over the years, keeping it relatively obscure. But that hasn't dampened the community's love for it in the slightest. As a matter of fact, quite a few games over the years have started popping up that start to use those ideas found in Chibi Robo and even evolve them in some way. One of those games is Misc a Tiny Tale, an indie game developed by a little group called Tinyware Games.
Tinyware.
Ever since its announcement, Misc has been picking up steam amongst Chibi Robo fans and indie game lovers alike, and has recently been announced as well for Nintendo Switch. The game is slated for a 2022 release, so what better time than now to hear from the project leader, Michael Pearce. How you doing, Michael?
Hello. I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right. Glad to have you on the show.
Thank you.
So I'm sure a ton of people are dying to know, so why don't you tell us, what is a Misc?
So, Misc refers to the game's title, short for the word miscellaneous. In our game, you play as a bug-sized robot made of miscellaneous scrap parts. One night, a mysterious explosion in the distance caused golden cogs to fall from the sky. So it's kind of up to you and your best friend, Bag Boy, to find these cogs and begin your adventure. The title refers to a few different themes in our game. Firstly, the obvious one is miscellaneous scrap parts, which each character in the game is made up of. The second is being the theme of feeling different. Every robot you meet in Misc is unique. They all have their own story and quirks. Some, like Bag Boy, feel like they've never quite fit into the world around them. So for that reason, we mentioned that these characters almost feel as if they themselves are miscellaneous to the rest of the world.
So what is with those shiny gears scattered around the world? They seem pretty important.
So your core objective in Misc is to collect these golden cogs, which are scattered across each chapter you encounter. You need 8 to pass the next chapter, but there are a total of 10 possible cogs in each. So it kind of gives you a bit of a flexible kind of gameplay where you might find a cog is too hard to reach, so you can skip it if you already have 8. It also gives those completionists something to look forward to as well. The mystery behind the explosion that caused the cogs to scatter is something you'll have to wait and find out for yourself in the game. Uncovering that mystery has been a fun process for the dev team, so yeah, we're asking ourselves, what really happened that night?
I was gonna say, there's a lot of mystery just on the little bit that I've played back from one of the early beta tests, and getting to see just like all of these characters and the way that they're built is probably one of my favorite things about this game so far. I mean, our main character, Buddy, being made out of like a little tin can and seeing how all of the parts make up who these robots are, and it's really cool seeing how their designs tie like into how they are. Like we've got a little soda can named Coca, who is constantly running all of the time. And then of course, Buddy himself has his little propeller on his head, which we'll get back into gameplay a little more soon. But yeah, it's really obvious that you guys have put a ton of love into the designs, and I'll show those up on screen, but each one feels very distinctly unique, and I've only seen a few of them thus far. So for those of us who haven't heard of Chibi Robo, which obviously you and I are definitely Chibi Robo fans, what's the inspiration that's being taken from that series? Because I'm definitely excited to hear more about that.
Well, I mean, before I talk about that, I just want to give some people a bit more context about why I personally, as a developer, found Chibi Robo really fascinating. Because it came around 2005 on the GameCube, and it was an obscure game that didn't sell that well, and that was for a few reasons, but one of them was also just because it was bad timing. The Wii was going to come out at the same time. And it just never really picked up much steam. But for the most part, it did a lot of things that other games didn't do at the time, and for that matter, still don't do now. So in Chibi Robo, you play as a tiny robot who's been purchased by a family as a birthday present to their daughter. Your main goal is to help clean up the family's house and over anything make people happy around you. But the reason Chibi Robo became such a success in the community is what it does outside of these things. So the family and its core is broken, and throughout the game you slowly unravel the issues they face at a deeper level. You find out the mom wants to divorce the husband lost his job and keeps spending all his money on figurines and toys. The little girl won't stop acting like a frog, which we find out might even be a coping mechanism to deal with her parents fighting all the time. So these kind of deep themes don't show up often in games, especially ones that on the surface look very innocent and friendly. And I think that deeper part of the game is one of the reasons Chibi Robo stands out. And as far as how Chibi Robo influences our game, I think those darker themes are absolutely present in Misc. There's an overarching theme there that we dive into across the game. It sort of has its moments, and I'm eager to see people's reaction to the story. And then of course outside of that, the connection between both games is playing as a small robot in a seemingly giant world. But then beyond that, I think, Misc feels very much in the style of Chibi Robo, in the way that we write dialogue, the characters, and even how it's presented through music, sound, and visuals too.
Yeah, I concur with pretty much everything there. Chibi Robo is, especially the first game, has a really heavy cultural impact on the few people that know about it, and it is amazing that a Nintendo game actually was able to incorporate such themes. I mean, obviously they weren't the prime developer, but
But Skip,
Yeah.
as a company, have always been known for like making very unique games and sometimes really subverting people's expectations on a genre. So, like, it is really cool to see that Misc is going deeper than just, you know, you are Tiny Robot. There is going to be a lot more like story significance to that and how everything plays out. And I'm super looking forward to the later chapters because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. So besides our little main character, Buddy, we've seen a couple of characters just from that trailer alone. Are there any other faces we should know about?
Yeah, so like in each chapter you come across in Misc, each character is sort of a unique robot. So they all live in their own little village. So each chapter almost becomes a look into a new micro world. There's a few reoccurring characters you'll see in the game as well. So we obviously have our lead character Buddy, who you play as, along with your best friend Bag Boy and his cat, which rests on his head. Each chapter you'll be given the option to hop down a pipe in the underground where Gus, a raccoon bot, gives you a platforming challenge to complete. You also buy things from the can-do stores in each area, so you'll meet different staff members in each store and they're all sort of related to each other in some way. And then beyond that we also have our hero and villain, which play an important role in the story. So for Misc, our hero is Captain Circuit, a lovable creative who wants to help Buddy and Bag Boy on their adventure. And alongside him is our mysterious villain, Atom, who might not even realize he's seen as a villain to the rest of the cast. He kind of like drives this UFO and he's like an inventor. So I'm really excited to share some stuff about that at a later date.
Okay, that's exciting. I really do like Buddy as a character, and I think just getting to play as him and seeing how his movement is really unique. Despite the new moves I haven't actually gotten to try yet, there's a couple of new ones out there, but like especially with his jump, using that double jump to the best of your ability is probably going to be pretty key in discovering some of those cogs. I was really bad at collecting one of the high up ones because I wasn't really thinking about how to best use it. So like, you know, you kind of jump and then you jump again right away. But the more that I was playing, the more I realized, oh, the propeller, he actually does like a little hover, and that's why the jump is so high. So like, there's more timing to it. So like, given that this is a 3D collectathon, that kind of movement is going to be a big deal in Misc. So what are the kind of moves we can expect from Buddy? Got to see a lot in the trailer alone, but like, I'm really curious to see just what else we're going to be able to do in this massive world.
Yeah, I mean, like as you mentioned, I think like especially with the jump, like, you know, every platformer that you play, like there's usually some form of jumping or double jumping, but we kind of wanted to have a new spin on that. So Buddy has this propeller where as soon as you've jumped and you're in the air, as long as you hold down that button, you sort of float. And it's a very subtle little mechanic, but it really lets you expand the distance of your jumps. So if you, like you said, hold out on jumping straight away for your second jump, you can actually get quite a bit of distance. And I think that getting that timing down and really understanding the reach of your first and second jump, you know, that's going to be a key to getting some of those more difficult cogs. But outside of that, after you jump, you can actually press a button to do a dive, which sort of launches you and directs your momentum to a different way. So I've seen a lot of speedrunners, for example, use that quite a bit. And then we, of course, once you have your weapon, which is a safety pin, you can use that throughout the game to hit different objects. You can open gates with it and solve puzzles as well. So
that's awesome.
We basically wanted to give Buddy enough flexibility as a character, so both speedrunners and the general public will feel comfortable playing with it. We made it a bit floaty to give sort of novice players a bit more time to calculate and adjust their fall as well, which I've seen through a lot of live demos, that it's actually helped, especially kids, sort of figure out where to land properly, you know, with a little bit more time. So
Yeah, I love the added detail of the sword being a safety pin. Like that's just adorable. And the dive, I am really glad that there's a dive now. That's going to be really fun to use. Just thinking like, forgive me for comparing, but a la Super Mario Sunshine and Odyssey.
No, absolutely.
And like, yeah.
Sunshine was like the key example of a dive. I think that pulled it off really well.
Yeah, it all comes together really well, and it's cool seeing Buddy being like such a versatile character, because the worlds he's exploring are like all very unique, and that whole idea of playing with the concept of scale, you know, you're jumping up giant cardboard boxes and flower pots and traveling through a garden hose at one point. That was like the coolest thing ever to me. I was like, once I realized what that was like, oh man, I'm really small. This is super neat.
Yeah.
So
there's lots of those moments in there, which I'm glad that you kind of explore the environment. You're like, oh wait, I'm on like, you know, above or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. So, I know I kind of spoiled it already, but Misc has recently been announced for a certain console, which is kind of a big deal given the context. You want to tell us more about that?
Yeah, so we recently announced that our game's coming to not only Steam for PC, but also Nintendo Switch. And, you know, for me and a lot of other people in our team, we all kind of grew up with Nintendo games. So it's really been a dream come true to see a game we're building running on a Nintendo console. We've actually had to keep the announcement, you know, close to ourselves for quite a long time. So having that announcement recently was just like a really good weight off our shoulders, and it was really, really nice to actually get that out there and see people's reactions. I think Misc is a really natural fit for the Switch. Playing it in handheld mode is really like relaxing, and on the big screen with the Joy-Cons in hand, it feels right at home. So I'm honored and eager to see the release happen when it eventually does.
Yeah, I mean, given that the game is inspired by a series that has been exclusively on Nintendo consoles, and none of the games have ever gotten a re-release, mind you. The only one was re-released in Japan for the Wii with its own motion control set, and that we almost never got to see that in America because it never got localized. So the fact that we are actually seeing more games like this, especially Misc, actually coming over to the Switch, it's kind of cathartic in a way, because it shows that people are able to still show their love for inspired games from this series, even if, you know, Nintendo won't do it themselves. So Tinyware does what Nintendo don't. In its own way. But yeah, from one Chibi Robo fan to another, thank you for helping to partially fill that gap in the Switch's library, and also, of course, making your own incredible original project. You guys have put so much love into this. I mean, just the little bit I've gotten to experience, the music and the world and the gameplay style has all been awesome, and I cannot wait to see how it all comes together.
Yeah, thank you so much. I look forward to it as much as you do.
It's been really good, and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how it all plays out. Thank you for joining us, Michael. This has been really fun and kind of a new experience for both of us, I think, but I've definitely enjoyed it, and I hope that all of you are looking forward to Misc when it comes out. You can wishlist it on Steam now, and I'm sure at some point we'll see it on the Switch eShop as well. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And thank you for keeping me sane, Vector. You do a great job as a co-host. Even though I never really ask you to do anything, you always seem to be right where I want you. You know, robots helping humans, and humans helping robots. All right, guys, that's about all the time we have for today, but thank you for joining us. And as always, this is Denominator signing off. See you later, Ominators. Until next video.